The Tag Mobile Podcast, brought to you by the App Garden, transforming mobile business. If this is the first time you've listened to the Tag Podcast, welcome. If you're a returning listener, thank you for joining us again. I'm Mel from the App Garden. This is episode number 11, Thursday the 25th of September 2014. Apple Pay aims to dominate the mobile payment market. This week's podcast focuses on Apple's new mobile payment platform, Apple Pay. We'll look at some of the key features of Apple Pay and discuss whether we think it has the potential to take the mobile payment market by storm. On September the 9th, Apple announced the Apple Pay platform, representing Apple's official entrance into the mobile payment market. Apple Pay is a new category of service that has the potential to transform mobile payments. Why would Apple want to transform mobile payments? Well, let's face it, mobile payments haven't reached mass appeal, despite having been around for nearly 2 decades now. So let's take a look at what Apple Pay is and how it could be set to take the mobile payment market by storm. Just like Google Wallet, Apple Pay will use near-field communication, or NFC, in which a smartphone transmits payment information over short distances using radio waves and enables the user to hover their iPhone 6 and 6 Plus phone or Apple Watch over the payment terminal to pay for goods or services when in store. In-app, customers will be able to select Apple Pay as their payment method and confirm with Touch ID. Apple Pay will use a unique number for each transaction, a process which is known as tokenization. Now, tokenization is a well-known approach in the payment space where information such as credit card numbers are hidden by tokens attached to every individual transaction, and they're used to protect sensitive information. Apple CEO Tim Cook went as far to tell members at the unveiling event on the 9th of September that shopping with a credit card has become, and I quote, antiquated. They aired a video, which incidentally many have described as an exaggerated, laboured piece of marketing spin, of a lady struggling to retrieve her credit card from her purse and waiting impatiently for the transaction to approve, attempting to highlight the cumbersomeness of paying by credit card. The more cynical amongst us might be grinning right now, thinking that the same lady's bottomless pit bag probably made it equally hard for her to find her mobile phone in order to pay by Apple Pay, whilst others may be embracing the promise of this new payment platform. Cynicism aside, here's a quick word on the security of Apple Pay. Apple Pay have guaranteed us that they won't collect our purchase history, so they won't retain any details about what we purchased, where we purchased it, or how much we paid for it. For the more security-conscious purchasers, this will satisfy that we won't be bombarded with, "You bought this, now I expect you'll want to buy this," marketing messages. Apple Pay will ask users to authenticate each transaction with Apple incorporating its Touch ID fingerprint sensor, and if your iPhone is lost or stolen, it can be quickly protected from any further payments being made through it by using the Find My iPhone solution. Mobile payments themselves are hardly new. In fact, the first mobile payments were made as far back as 1998. So, with already existing mobile payment platforms such as Google Wallet, Square, Softcard and Amazon Payment already in operation, what advantage might Apple Pay have over these existing platforms? Well, I think there are 3 potential aspects which could ensure that Apple Pay becomes the market leader on mobile payments. And these 3 are focus, size, and timing. Apple CEO Tim Cook said, "Most people that have worked on mobile payments have started by focusing on creating a business model that was centred around their self-interest, instead of focusing on the user experience." And it seems that with Apple Pay, Apple may well have worked their magic to ensure their solution delivers a user-friendly, simple and sleek payment process. Whereas previously, a customer's purchase journey may have been a little disjointed in the sense that the customer may make use of their smartphone during the shopping experience, but at the end of the journey would most usually have to put their smartphone away to make a purchase with their credit card. Apple is tapping into a customer journey which works on ensuring the customer is engaged with the brand at every opportunity through their smartphone without ever having to put it to one side. This will include integrating an interaction with a brand on Twitter, allowing a customer to post to Foursquare that they're at the shopping mall, using iBeacon technology to send a coupon to the customer's phone to encourage a visit to a retail outlet, comparing prices and alternative whilst in the store, and then, the ultimate goal, to pay for their purchase with their smartphone. The second potential advantage I mentioned was size. You might think that Apple Pay would have a restricted audience, remembering that Apple Pay can only be activated on iPhone 6, iPhone 6 Plus and the Apple Watch. And you'd be right in some ways, that is a restriction. But with Apple's pre-orders of these units totalling 4 million during the first 24 hours, they'll undoubtedly hold a healthy percentage share of the smartphone market. And according to Business Insider, in November 2013, Apple held 600 million accounts on file, compared to Amazon's estimated 200 million accounts. And a more recent report released by Asimco in April shows the gap growing even wider, with Apple's account holder figures having risen to 800 million as compared with Amazon's estimated figures hovering in the region of 220 million. Apple has a significant advantage because it has access to the stored credit card information of the majority of these 800 million, largely through their iTunes accounts. Holding the account holders' credit card information is a significant benefit to Apple, allowing account holders to set up their Apple Pay accounts in a simple process, already using stored credit card information. And in addition to the benefit of the size of Apple's account holder community, their strength of brand recognition is only going to increase potential for success in this area. Apple has already announced partnerships with the 3 major credit card companies, that's American Express, Visa and MasterCard, and in addition to USA's 6th biggest banks. And the company is reported to have formed relationships with 220,000 retail stores and restaurants, as well as leading brands such as department stores, Macy's and Bloomingdale's, fast food giants, McDonald's, online pharmacy, Walgreens, and even the Disney Corporation. This is likely to set them up with a significant advantage over other mobile payment options currently in the market, who may have launched with big retailers, but these have tended to be restricted to one retail category and not across the board as Apple have strategically done. Timing? Apple has managed to walk, or should I say run head-on, into an existing world that its predecessors have already done all the groundwork creating the infrastructure for. The mobile payment world is already with us, but let's face it hasn't really caught on yet. Figures suggest that NFC readers are being used by fewer than 10% of merchants in the US, and one of the main reasons for this is reputed to be that the smaller brands just aren't prepared to fork out for the cost of buying an NFC-enabled terminal if they don't have to. But all of that is about to change. America is home to almost half of the world's credit card fraud, despite it being responsible for only about a quarter of all credit card transactions. The main reason for this is that they still use that magnetic strip swipe system rather than the more secure microchip system. In response to this, in the latter part of next year, US merchants will be required to upgrade their terminals to support EMV cards. Now, EMV is the global standard for credit and debit payment cards based on chip card technology, and it takes its name from Europay, MasterCard and Visa. Those merchants that fail to comply will be made to bear the responsibility of any fraud themselves, giving them, I would think, more than enough incentive to upgrade. And any new terminal upgrades are likely to have the contactless capability required to accept mobile payments integrated into their devices. So often, the bearing on whether a launch is successful or not is reliant on timing, and Apple certainly seem to have timed this one to offer them great potential. We've had an overview of what's happening in the States, but what's happening closer to home? EMV cards may already be the norm here, and although there have been no details released about when Apple Pay might be heading our way, we can apparently rest assured that our time will come. Chief Digital Officer at Visa Europe has stated that they're working closely with Apple and their member banks to bring the new service to market in Europe. And it's just as well, as a recent report from WorldPay highlights the growing trend of mobile payment volumes in the UK, which more than doubled from 4 million in July 2013 to 10.9 million in July 2014. So, will Apple Pay transform the way we make purchases? I'm undecided. Apple may be giants, but ultimately the control and the choice will lie with us, the consumer, and of course the retail outlets who may or may not choose to offer mobile payment options. I suspect that they may corner the mobile payment market, but I think mobile payments will be an additional way of paying and not an exclusive one, if only for the disadvantage that we won't be able to pay for anything if we forget to charge our smartphone, something I, for one, seem to be rather prone to. Thank you for listening to the Tag Mobile podcast, brought to you by the App Garden, transforming mobile business. Join us again next week when we'll be discussing more developments and news in the mobile industry.